Hi Professor, my name is Vikram Sharma. So I'm gonna make the video the things which I have grabbed from Week-3. So the demonic era. So like it's a pre-16 criminal and abnormal behavior was thought to be caused by demons, evil spirits, or an indeterminate force of evil. This time period is also referred to as the pre-scientific era of explaining crime. Ideas were connected to religious doctrine, trepanation, holes drilled into skull to the release demons from the inflicted soul. So the the Greater Charter from 1215 is the foundation of modern laws and legal process in Canada and other countries colonized by Great Britain. The Carta became the foundation of civil liabilities in many countries around the world. The Enlightenment was a powerful intellectual movement, also known as the Age of Reason, occurring in the late 16th and early 70s. In his text Leviathan, Thomas Hobbes 1651 discussed the natural state of humanity, where life in a pre-social state of nature was nasty, brutish, and short. Hobbes argued that the fear of violent death act as a force on human beings to enter into a social contract with each other leads to the formation of the state. Hobbes on human behavior. The first principle of human behavior is egoism or self-interest, which is the root of all social conflict. The state serves a protective function. Members of society must give up their natural rights and give absolute authority to the state in return for its protection. John Locke in 1690, sorry, not in 1960, in 1690 challenged conventional wisdom, assuming people were born blank slates. Locke on human behavior, social interaction, and human experience were the growth of the personality. No, nurture, not nature, is the primary force that shapes the human personality. Belief in the scientific method and in rational thinking was hailed as an alternative approach for understanding the science world. Religious dogma and superstitious beliefs were barriers to the truth, or were they? Example, the idea that people were self-determining entities was called rationalism. Free will and rational thought were deemed the basic building blocks of human activity and social organization. So, like the two main figures, both philosophers and jurists, both credited with forming the classic school of criminology, Italian Beccaria from 1738 to 1794 published an essay on crimes punishments. English Jeremy Bentham from 1748 to 1832 wrote an introduction to the principles of morals and legislation in 1780. So the Beccaria's ideas punishment should be formulated for the purpose of deterrence, and punishment of criminals should be swift and certain. The punishment should fit the crime. Efficient, fair juries should be made of an equal combination of those who knew the victim and those who know the accused. Present day restorative justice. Criminals are rational, free will decision makers who choose to commit crimes, yet who can be deterred by the threat of punishment. Bentham's ideas, humans are rational factors. Utilitarianism was defined by him: the greatest God for the greatest number. Society should be based on the social contract. Punishments for effective crime prevention need to be severe, certain, and swiftly applied. Judges have limited discretion in passing a sentence. Sentences should be about equal to the crime. Determinant sentencing. The Enlightenment was a response to arbitrary and barbaric punishments of the time. It gave rise to new ways of thinking about crime and also stimulated practical reaction to the treatment of offenders and the mentally ill in asylums. Central punishment as a deterrence, individual and specific general deterrence. Elements of classic school of criminology still present in contemporary administration of criminal justice. In the in late in late 17th, John Howard wanted to reform this prison system and make it more human. In Canada, the John Howard Society acts as an alternative to punitive crime measures and is still active in all 10 provinces and the Northwest Territories. Criticisms of the classic school: it can operate only in a society where property is equally distributed. The question of criminal responsibility: is everyone equal in rational thinking? Children, people with a congenital disability, does everyone have free will? Like they feel free? Like, does everyone have free will? Okay, there was no consideration for mitigating circumstances, example individual differences or the social environment. So due to criticisms, the new classical school of criminology emerged with consideration for the physical and social environment in which crime takes place, the offender's past record, children deemed less capable of making accountable decisions than adults, issues of mental illness, no mention of there is a no mention of gender anywhere. Okay, so from Lombro-Asian atavism to modern biocriminology, positivist school of thought emerged in the 19th century. The application of the scientific method to the study of the human condition. Positivists believed human behavior was determined by forces beyond the control of the individual, behavior that could not be prevented by sheer willpower or moral training. Positivists criticized the classic school for being unscientific and based on unsystematic observation. Early positivist thinking: Charles Darwin's on the origin of species in 1859 believed in the theory of natural selection. This concept was essential to positivist criminology. Social Darwinism: central figure in positivist criminology with focus on biology and anthropology, Italian medical doctor C.R. Lomsro from 1835 to 1909. In The Criminal Man, 1861, Lomsro outlined his perspective on crime and criminals. Criminals were biological throwbacks or atavists. The cause of criminal behavior are rooted in biological makeup, and those who display visible primitive ape-like characteristics are specifically predisposed to crime. Criminals were born, not made. Lomsro reached his conclusion based on what he claimed he was scientific research, a comparison of incarcerated criminals with a control group of Italian soldiers. He reported significant differences in the evidence of those atavistic characteristics between the two groups. Criminals were deemed to be lower on the evolutionary scale than non-criminals. Criticisms of Lomsro's research: statistical techniques were inadequate. State of atavism simply does not exist. Physical attributes may have been observed as a result of their insertion, example inadequate nutrition and poor hygiene. No well accepted studies have explained variation in crime rates on the basis of biological variation alone. Canadian psychologist Philip Roston proposed a theory which accounts for social race, accounting for racial differences in crime in race, evolution, and behavior in 1995. Ruston accounted for the differences in race by citing the differences in IQ, a direct function of the differences in brain size. Criticisms of Ruston: race is a social construct. Crimes rate vary within racial groups. Racial groupings cannot be different purely on the basis of biological characteristics. William Sheldon in 1940 developed a typology of three different body shapes with distinct temperaments like ectomorph, andromorph, and mesomorph. Ectomorph thin, fragile, shy, and introverted. Endomorph slow, comfort-loving, soft, and round appearance. Mesomorphic hard, muscular body, aggressive personality, more prone to crime. Criminal body types were believed to be spread through bad blood like gum plasm. So these were the things which I grabbed from Week 3, and my name is Vikram Sharma. My student ID is 2326762. Thank you, Professor.